If you're someone that noticeably experiences anxiety or stress regularly, there's no doubt that you've been told at one stage or another to relax and breathe. Indeed, given how long we've been breathing and how simple of a task it seems for most of us to do, you can imagine how easily someone could brush it off and say it doesn't work even before giving it a shot. Yet some estimate that we breathe as much as 22,000 times each day. That's a whole lot of breathing. So while one breath mightn't seem like it can do much good, the accumulative effect of respiration definitely shouldn't be ignored. Also, it's important to point out that just because you're breathing doesn't mean you're necessarily doing it correctly, which we'll get into a bit later. Therefore, today we'll be examining the underlying ways breathing exercises are suggested to help anxiety and stress, and if there is evidence backing up these claims. But first, as always, please take note of our disclaimer. To understand how breathing may aid stress and anxiety, we first need to talk about the divisions of the nervous system. The nervous system is made of two parts, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. On the other hand, its counterpart is composed of the sympathetic and autonomic nervous systems, relating to the nerves that branch out from the spinal cord and stretch to all body regions. A simple way to separate the peripheral subdivisions is that your somatic nervous system involves things you can consciously sense and do, while the autonomic nervous system involves things you don't directly have conscious control over. To give you an idea of the difference here between both, say you voluntarily use your arm to pick up a ball. This would be working your somatic nervous system. Contrarily, the autonomic nervous system is concerned with the involuntary processes vital for our health, including heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, and digestion, among others. Again, things we don't consciously control, hence autonomic. The autonomic nervous system is then finally broken down into the sympathetic nervous system, which prepares the body for fight or flight, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which allows the body to rest and digest. If sympathetic activation is high, the parasympathetic activation will be low, and vice versa. In other words, the two have opposite roles, but at the same time, they're also complementary and necessary for homeostasis and life. If your body feels your safety is at risk, like in times that we get anxious or stressed, then the sympathetic nervous system springs to action. It'll do things like increase your heart rate and relax your airways to get more oxygen to your muscles in case you need to make a fast getaway from an imminent physical threat, for instance. You can see some other of its functions here. So you can imagine how essential this state has been to our survival as a species. The problem, though, is that when we experience chronic stress, which is stress continuously felt day by day, the resulting sympathetic activation can stay switched on too long, and as a result, begin to strain us and have detrimental effects on the body. A straightforward example of this can be seen in the muscular system. Ever seen on a TV program when someone goes for a massage, and the masseuse tells them that they can tell they're going through a lot of stress at the moment based on the tension that they feel in their muscles? Well, one of the reasons for this can be prolonged sympathetic activation. This is the body's way of guarding itself against injury and pain, as it associates the continual stress with physical danger, even if it is mental stress from a high office workload. One way, among many, that this increased muscle tension can have a negative knock-on effect is that it can lead to tension-type headaches, the most common type of headache. This is because tightness in the neck and the back of the upper shoulder muscles can increase strain applied to the head. Anyway, in light of the ramifications that can arise from sympathetic overload, that's why in part we have a parasympathetic nervous system to help bring the relevant systems that assist us in times of stress back to baseline when we return to a place that we feel safe and calm. Therefore, in essence, to help relieve stress and anxiety, we can do this by shifting from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic nervous state more often. Make sense? Now, you may say, but how can we make this shift given that you suggested earlier that we don't have direct conscious control over the autonomic nervous system? Well, the key word here is direct. Of course, we don't have direct conscious control over things like blood vessels and airways, for example. Still, there are indirect ways that we can control these things, whether through medication, medical devices, or, in this case, breathing. On a side note, if you're interested in undertaking our evidence-based and results-backed personalised Plato weight management program, please click the link in the top right-hand corner of the video or follow the link in the description. Then, how does breathing help facilitate the autonomic shift precisely? The parasympathetic nervous system uses 4 of the 12 cranial nerves that come directly from the brain. Of these 4, 3 involve your senses and glands connected to your eyes, nose and mouth, while the last, the vagus nerve to be specific, is connected to the heart and lungs and is what primarily relates to breathing and the transition between autonomic states for reduced anxiety and stress. In fact, to give you an idea of how significant the vagus nerve is, even though it's only 1 out of 4 nerves involved with the parasympathetic nervous system, it actually makes up as much as 3/4 of its total activity. Besides this, the diaphragm, a muscle that covers the inner part of our entire lower rib cage, is also partially innervated by the vagus nerve. The diaphragm relates to breathing as it helps to open up the chest cavity by contracting and moving downward, meaning that the lungs are able to expand more and let more oxygen in the more it's used. And we can consciously use this muscle when we focus on breathing deeply into the stomach, otherwise known as diaphragmatic breathing. Although just because this type of breathing has an important role this way, that doesn't mean that people always do it, unfortunately. Instead, they'll often unknowingly rely on only using muscles between the ribs, along with the abdomen and accessory breathing muscles. This is contrarily called chest breathing, or shallow breathing. Therefore, when we consciously focus on diaphragmatic breathing regularly, we not only help stimulate the vagus nerve to promote calmness, but also allow more oxygen to travel to the prefrontal cortex of the brain where we think. This lets us think clearer and more rationally about the stress or anxiety we experience, if there is actually a legitimate threat, and how best to deal with it if there is. Further, breathing deeper into our stomach using diaphragmatic breathing takes longer than breathing into our chest, as you can imagine. As a result, this will enable us to slow our breaths down, adding to the safety signals provided to the autonomic nervous system. Alright, so now that we've a grasp of how breathing can help with stress and anxiety, what exactly does the research say? Psychological studies have shown that breathing practice reduces anxiety, stress, and depression. Even just a 1-day breathing exercise was found to be effective for emotional enhancement when it came to job burnout, a life event that brings with it a lot of stress and anxiety, as you can imagine. Then, likewise, from a physiological point of view, a single breathing practice was found to help in various autonomic nervous system processes such as blood pressure, heart rate variability, oxygenation, and overall lung function. Additionally, a 2017 study exploring the effect of diaphragmatic breathing on stress found that participants who underwent 20 sessions of it over 8 weeks significantly decreased their cortisol levels, while those that didn't undertake the intervention saw no significant benefit. This is relevant as cortisol is, of course, our body's main stress hormone. Finally, yoga practice, of which breathing is a fundamental part of, also demonstrates a reduction of sympathetic and an increase of parasympathetic nervous states. So, in sum, diaphragmatic breathing helps stress and anxiety by stimulating parasympathetic activity, mainly through the vagus nerve and through the allowance for us to intake more oxygen to the brain to better handle our response cognitively. Since the evidence behind its effectiveness seems quite strong, as we've gone through, we definitely recommend giving it a go the next time you find yourself not having a great day. Have you tried diaphragmatic breathing? Did you find it helpful for stress or anxiety? We'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. So, that has been our video. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.